Welcome to the Women's Football Show here on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Kerry Pollock. Alison McConnell joins me, and our guest today is Partick Thistle defender Emma Lawton. Emma, thank you very much for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. First of all, let's get right into it. Cup final this weekend. How much are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, I think it's a really big week for the club. It should be a great game, and yeah, we're all just buzzing and can't wait for Sunday.
You held Rangers to a 0-0 draw earlier on in the season. You were extremely unlucky to get a goal chopped off. How can you use that going into this one this weekend?
Yeah, I think it does give us a lot of confidence, like you say, that 0-0, and then even earlier in the season at Broadwood, they only beat us 1-0, and I think that game we felt like we probably could have got a draw out of that. So I think there's definitely positives to take from those performances to give us that confidence going into Sunday.
Would you say that there's less between the teams than what the table might suggest or what people might think there is?
Potentially, yeah. I think especially in these one-off games, it's like it gives us a chance to go and get a result. So I think maybe over the course of a season, these sort of full-time teams kind of show their class. But I think in that one-off game, we've always backed ourselves to have that chance to go and win. How
important is it that you guys stick to your game plan and stick to what you know, not change that?
Yeah, I think so. I think just sticking to our principles and the kind of game plan that Brian and Ross set out, and I think that'll give us the best opportunity to go and get a result.
You wouldn't change the game plan, but do you look at this slightly differently because it's a cup final, perhaps?
Yeah, I think potentially, it's like winner takes all, so you can't really maybe have that sort of thing of getting a draw in a game or whatever. You need to go and score goals, you need to go and win the game. So I think even though we'll be obviously thinking about their strengths, we'll also look at our strengths and go, how can we go and really punish them and win this game?
Tell us about any finals that you've played in previously in your career.
So the one that really sticks in mind was when I was at under-13s at Celtic and we won the Scottish Cup. I think it was against Hearts, if my memory serves me right. So I think on that day it was really big for me at such a young age to kind of go and win. So it would be great to my first senior final to be able to lift the trophy.
Have you played at Tynecastle before?
No, I've never played at Tynecastle before, so it'll be my first time playing there.
Have you been there as a fan? Have you been through for games?
I've never been at Tynecastle before, so it'll be a new experience for me, and I think a lot of the girls as well, to be fair.
Have you been inundated for ticket requests?
Not really, to be fair. I think I've got about 40 of my family coming, so I think we've got a whole section. But no, everybody's just buzzing for the club to be there, and I think it'll be a great occasion for the club.
It's obviously massive for Thistle. This is the first time, being in a cup final for the women's team have ever been this far. Is it important that you play the game and not the occasion? I know it's an old cliche, but is it just important to focus on the game?
No, definitely, and I think it probably can quite easily get caught up in the day, but I think Brian and Ross will do a good job this week of keeping us focused and just concentrating on the game and trying not to get affected by all the kind of outside noise and stuff, because I think first final for the women and I think first for the whole club in about 50 years or something, so I think there'll be a lot of attention around it, so it's just important that as a group of players we kind of stay grounded and focus on the game.
I saw Brian going to get kitted out for his cup final suit going into Slaters and stuff. What have you guys done? Have you got anything?
No, we've not got anything at the moment as far as I'm aware, so there was a bit of a laugh about that if we were getting suits or whatever getting down to Slaters, but no, we're just focused on the game.
What experience will he use to help you guys on this occasion? Will he look at his own career to put onto you guys?
Yeah, I think so. He's been there, done it with St Johnstone and stuff, so I think he's got that experience and he'll be able to pass that on to us from a player's point of view, but also from a coaching point of view, and that sort of keeping grounded and stuff and just focusing on the game.
How much do you enjoy playing in front of a larger crowd? Because I imagine they will be there in their numbers this weekend. Do you like that atmosphere around you?
Yeah, to be fair, I don't think I've ever really going to have played at a crowd with that much. I think there was over 1,000 tickets sold fairly recently, so I'm sure it'll be more than that now, but I think probably the most I've played in front of was maybe 300 or 400, or 600 in the semi-final actually, so I think it'll definitely be a different experience, but one I'm looking forward to, because I think any footballer you want to be playing in front of crowds of that size, that's what you aim to do, so I think it'll be a challenge for myself and I think everybody else in the team that we'll be really looking forward to.
Is Tynecastle one of the stadiums that you've been looking to play at in your career?
Not really, to be honest. It's just to play at any stadium's a real honour, especially for a final. So I think it'll be a good occasion.
I think it helps you just going into the game as big underdogs. Everyone just expects it that Rangers will go on and win this cup. Like they've been favourites for the league all season, looking at a clean sweep, looking at a potential treble. Do you think that plays into your hands, that you guys go in when no one really expecting anything from you?
Yeah, I think so, to be fair. I think it probably removes any pressure that maybe from an outside point of view that we would have on us, but I think us as a group of girls, we know that we can put on a performance and get the result. So I think even though nobody outside puts pressure on us. We and ourselves think we can go and do this, but I think, like you're saying, going in as underdogs, it probably adds more pressure for Rangers, because if they were to slip up, then it's going to be big for them and potentially have effects in the league. So I think all the pressure's on them, and we can just go in and focus on the game and hopefully execute our game plan.
They've got quite a menacing forward line. You look at Rio Hardy and Jane Ross, Rachel Rowe, who have all been really creative and in amongst the goals. Like, how have you found playing against them this season?
Challenging, like, I'm not going to lie, but I think it's a challenge that I'm really enjoying, like putting myself, like, you want to go and play against the best players, in my opinion. There's no point in playing against lower levels, so it's like you want to play and really challenge yourself. So I think it will be a challenge, but one that we've obviously managed to do well when we've drew 0-0 with them and stuff. So I think we can nullify them, but obviously they can just have one single moment and they'll take their chances. So it's about being concentrated for the whole 90 minutes or 120 or whatever it might be.
Have you allowed yourself to imagine what it might be like to go and win it?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, like, just thinking about it, especially like when we beat Hibs in the semi-final, I think you were just buzzing, like you wanted to find out what would be the next week. So I think having that kind of period in between's kind of been difficult, because it's always been on the back of your mind. So, but yeah, I think it would, like, I speak for all the girls, I think it would be a great achievement and we would be absolutely buzzing to go and lift that cup on Sunday.
You obviously can't control what Rangers are doing and what they're thinking, but they're coming into this game on the back of a derby defeat. How much confidence does that give you guys that they might be slightly down in the dumps about that?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one. I was thinking about that. Like, yeah, it might kind of play in their minds that they've had that defeat, but it also might give them that fire in their belly to go, we're not making it 2 in a row. So I think it kind of could go either way, but I think, yeah, we can use that and look at that game and think, well, how did Celtic play that we could maybe exploit them?
Mm-hmm. Well, it was a derby defeat. Alison, you were there. Celtic were the winners in the end for you?
Yeah, I think so. I think I thought Rangers were quite surprising. I didn't think they really got going until the last 15-20 minutes of the game. I thought Celtic started very well, and obviously Natasha Flint scored after just 5 minutes, but there had been warning signs for Rangers before that. I think Celtic had breached that backline 3 times before she opened the scoring. I think Rangers really missed Cathy Hill. So much was coming down that right hand side. But it really wasn't until Lucy Ashford-Clifford's challenge and Mia McCauley. Mia McCauley had just come on the pitch. Lucy Ashford-Clifford was late. She careered into her right in front of both dugouts, and it kind of sparked a kind of melee between both sides and both managers for a point. And I felt as though after that Rangers were a wee bit more riled up, like, you know, there was a bit more aggression and a bit more purpose from them, but it seemed to take that flashpoint before it energised them a bit. And then Jane Ross got the goal to give them a lifeline just 12 minutes from time, and I think they could have sneaked a leveller in added time. I think a series of 4 or 5 corners, he'd clipped the crossbar in the closing stages, but I think the disappointing thing will be that they left it too late in the game to really go and try and impose themselves and to play the way that we've seen at points this season. I think Celtic did deserve it overall. I think they could have been out of sight at half time. Flint missed a chance just right on the cusp of the break. I think she probably didn't realise how much time she had just at the edge of the box and kind of snatched at a shot. It was fairly tame and allowed Jenna Fife to collect. But if she had a wee bit significantly more time and space than she thought she had, she could have done better with it, and a few other chances like that. And I think huge for Celtic in a psychological sense now. I think it's first big win for Elena Suduka, you know, first time that she's beaten any of the top 3, and of course now it just blows the title race absolutely wide open.
Yeah, definitely. Emma, do you find that when you come up against the top 3, either one of them, that you need to be that bit more aggressive, or they're more aggressive with you being on the back line?
Yeah, I think we need to be a wee bit more aggressive, because they've maybe got that little bit extra quality, so we need to kind of deny them that space and time to kind of allow them to play. Like, I think it's important, especially us as a part-time side, that we go and compete and win our individual battles to give ourselves the best chance to winning the games.
Did that surprise you yesterday afternoon when you saw that Celtic were able to penetrate Rangers that early on?
Yeah, it was quite a surprise, to be fair. I fancied probably Rangers to win that game, if I'm honest. But yeah, like you're saying, I think it blows the title race right up now, because I think there's only 1 point between them all or something like that. So yeah, it will be interesting.
Well, it's fantastic, I think, to see what we saw again last season. I think it's fantastic for the profile of the league. I think it generates an intrigue and excitement. Last season, I think for the very first time ever, you saw the Women's League given a place that had never really enjoyed before in the run-in. It was on the back pages of newspapers. It was a real talking point on broadcast shows. I think it really captured the imagination. You saw record attendances 3 times across the course of the campaign. Celtic attracting 15,822 fans in for that final game against Hearts when the day that they lost the title. I think it would be fantastic for the league if it stays the same for these final 9 games. If you can take it right to the wire, I think it generates so much interest in the league. I think it sustains that profile, and I think it just gives a real injection into the league and into the women's game of people taking a bit of notice of it.
And you did ask Jo Potter before the game at the weekend that will it come down to the games against one another? Was she in agreement with you about that?
Yeah, I think so. I think every manager would be wary of writing off everyone else. Celtic have dropped points to Hearts, Rangers have dropped points to Partick Thistle. I think it's entirely plausible going into the final games that you can drop points out with the top 3. However, when you have a 3-pronged race, you know that there's someone else, when the big 2 play one another, that there's a real opportunity for the other team to take advantage of anything that gives. So Glasgow City would be the obvious case. Yesterday they go and beat Hearts early on, come into the game knowing that if Celtic win, that it blows it wide open. You know, had Rangers won that game yesterday and gone 7 points clear, it would have left Celtic languishing in 3rd. And we all know that the 2nd place also opens the door to Champions League football. So there's all manner of issues that come with the games now. But certainly, I think every game, I think that when there's a real pressure and a real focus on every game, I think that's when you maybe see teams stumbling at points that you wouldn't expect it. And I think it'll be very interesting to see how Rangers cope now. I think they have been, for me, head and shoulders above teams all season. I think they've looked and played like champions across the course of the campaign. But when pressure is added to the mix, I think it becomes a different question, and it'll be intriguing to see how they cope with that across the final games.
Was that a target for Thistle this season, Emma, that you're obviously in that 4th spot just now, but to constantly keep on the heels of the top 3 and not let them create that gap?
Yeah, I think it's something we've aimed to do, like to try and challenge these top 3 teams and even Hibs and Hearts more competitively and try and get results, which we have done with the Rangers and stuff, but I think we feel we probably could have gotten closer in the first half of the season. So I think in this top 6 split now that we are looking to really try and maybe upset them a wee bit and take some points off them, because that's kind of the next step that we are trying to do, and kind of consistently take points off these top 3 teams.
It's like the old say, you know, you might not win the league, but you could have a considerable say on who does win it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think probably as players, knowing we're probably not in that race, it's probably something that maybe we want to try and do and see, like, right, we're going to try and get a result here today and see how it then pans out in the league. So all we can do is take our games and focus on them and hopefully win them all, obviously.
I think Brian might keep his head a bit more on Sunday than he did yesterday.
Yeah, hopefully so. I think we were a bit frustrated yesterday with some of the refereeing decisions, but yeah, it was just one of those games, I think.
It's not like him.
No, I know.
How much of a benefit is that to you guys, as Alison's saying there, when the pressure's added to Rangers, it seems to get a little bit wobbly? Can you guys use that to your advantage come the weekends?
Yeah, I think so. I think you have to look at that, and kind of obviously the first time anybody's beat them this season, so that will be playing on their mind. So I think we need to try and capitalise that and hopefully put them under pressure early doors at Tynecastle.
Is that surprising to you, Alison, when you look at the experience that they have in their squad, that that's allowed to happen almost, that it's rocked the boat a little bit?
In terms,
when the pressure comes on, it kind of gets a bit scare 'em.
I think they'll be happy now. They're at the top of the league. They're a point clear. I think they'll know that they've been the team to beat all season. I think it will unnerve them the way that they lost the game. I actually thought they could potentially have lost the game at Ibrox last month. I thought Celtic again had chances at 1-0 in the game. I thought Celtic really could have put the game to bed. I think certainly there'll be food for thought. I think possibly the way that Celtic started the game, Natasha Flint just gives them a completely different dynamic up front that they didn't have earlier in the season. That's not to take away at all from Amy Gallagher, who scored a lot of goals, and there's goals in that Celtic team, but I just think Natasha Flint is such a different player to what they have. Her physicality, her ability to hold the ball up, just her sheer power and strength is a real asset to Celtic. You saw it last season when she came on loan in January. She was on loan from Leicester at that point. She added a really different dynamic. I think it was 8 goals or so she scored in the run, and then of course was pivotal to Celtic winning the Scottish Cup in May. I think she's been huge for them. I think Rangers struggled to cope with her at points in yesterday's game, but I actually thought even at 1-0, I thought Celtic were sloppy at points in that first half. I thought they gave the ball away very cheaply, but Rangers just, it wasn't the Rangers that you've seen across much of the season. Whether that comes down to pressure or just a bad day at the office, I think you'll see now over the remaining 9 games. But certainly what it does do is open it right up. I think it's anyone's title now.
And what a time for Celtic to up their game, should we say, like adding that quality like Natasha Flint into that squad.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there had been a move last season to try and keep her at the club permanently, and then Liverpool had come in. She obviously fancied going down and playing south of the border. I think it's maybe not just worked out the way that she wanted it to, wasn't getting the same amount of game time. She came back up, she knew the club, she knows the league, she knows a lot of the players that she's playing with, and I think she maybe needed a couple of weeks just to get up to fitness. She hadn't played a lot in the first half of the season, but I think now what you're seeing is a fully fit Natasha Flint, and I think she could be the difference for Celtic.
Yeah, well, Emma, we talk about Celtic and Rangers a lot on this show, but Glasgow City are just hanging in there in 3rd place. Could they be thinking we could really upset the apple cart here as well?
Yeah, I think so. Like you're saying, everybody's just talking about Celtic and Rangers, and that maybe might suit Glasgow City a wee bit because the kind of maybe the pressure's off them. So, but they've been there, done it so many times that you can never write them off, I don't think.
Yeah, I think Glasgow City have got a real quiet assurance about themselves. I think they always do. I think that comes just from being serial winners. It comes from repeatedly lifting silverware. You've got a manager in there who'd done it as a player, who knows the course, who's won it time and time again. Not just success in the league, but across all domestic competitions and European tournaments. Fantastic pedigree. They've got a real strong spine. Fiona Brown, when we talk about players coming back in January, I think Fiona Brown has been massive for Glasgow City. Scored the opener yesterday against Hearts and their win. I think she could be key. I think there's very little between the top 3. For me, I think Rangers probably just edge it in terms of the quality that they have, but when it gets to this point and there's so little between them, I think it's hugely exciting to see where it goes.
I think Emma's totally right as well when she's saying, though, that Glasgow City just quietly go about their business and have that confidence, let them two batter it out between the both of them, and then we can maybe come up in the inside lane.
Yeah, I think they would always fancy themselves. I think they're quite happy to maybe dip under the radar at times. I think you saw it last season. I think there was so much focus in the final month on Celtic and Rangers, and I think many people, and I probably put myself in this category, that midweek night at Celtic Park when Celtic beat Glasgow City under the lights, a big crowd there, and you're thinking, you just wondered about the damage that result would have had on their psyche going in. I thought, it was. I personally thought it was between Celtic and Rangers. So yeah, it just
you just never know. Well, the weekend, Emma, best of luck.
Thank you very much.
We hope that goes your way, and of course we'll be back next week with some more action to look forward to. We'll see you then. Thanks for watching.